Hello and welcome to Boatrek Live number 11, Star Trek Picard, The Impossible Box, Recap and Review. My name is PJ, and this will not contain any images from the episode. It opens with a dream sequence of a young Soji, who wasn't really ever young. This is an implanted memory, or a dream of an implanted memory, where she wanders down a hallway. There's lightning outside. She walks into presumably what is her father's lab, but somebody calls out Soji, and she wakes up in bed with Narek, or Narek, however that's pronounced. I don't really care about Narek and Soji, to be honest. Soji asks for his true name because she knows that Romulans have 3 names, and she wants to know the one that he will give to his true love, which I suppose he thinks is her. Of course, they're both in love. We've always questioned whether Narek was actually in love with her, but we find out, he really is. Narek inquires about her dreams and asks her about the conversations with her mother. So he's digging. He's still digging for those answers. And as she leaves, she calls out Narek, and he jokingly replies, "That's not my name." On the La Serena, Jurati is explaining that Maddox died. She's clearly more than grieving, but they seem to brush over Maddox's death, except for at the end of the conversation where Eleanor seems to suspect her, but it's kind of like played off as a joke at the end, so... but within that conversation, they speculate, or Jurati is speculating about the Borg, and she explains that the artifact may not be as malicious as Picard thinks. And, he has another angry outburst, perhaps due to his illness, stating, they coolly assimilate entire civilizations, entire systems. In a matter of hours, they don't change, they metastasize. And it's like, dude, you know they changed. They have changed over the years. And plus, pretty much they're just victims, which he has to come to a realization later in the episode when he already knew that. I mean, he should understand that. But they're playing him off as like an ignorant... He's blinded by his prejudice against the Borg. And I thought we were a little bit past certain things. I know he still has PTSD, stuff like that, but they don't change. Okay. Jurati is pretty reasonable in her assessment that they're disconnected, they're under Romulan control. The artifact is harmless. So we think. I don't know. So Picard goes to his ready room, which is the holographic vineyard. And he does a Google Images search of 90s Trek. Well, not really, but he's going through these images, and he sees Hugh and realizes, he may have an ally, I guess. Or did he know he was there already? I don't know. Then he comes across an image of himself as Locutus, and it's a screen grab from Best of Both Worlds, but it is conveniently reversed so that when you see it from the reverse angle through the transparent holographic screens, which, by the way, are the stupidest things in the world, because who would want to look at a screen that you can see through? It's abandoning logic for aesthetic, because they like those reverse shots. Like, they can do a lot with them artistically, I suppose. But they're sacrificing practicality for visual flourish. I don't like that. So, yeah, when you see it from the reverse angle through the transparent holographic screen, it matches Picard's face then. It matches the proper side. So when he touches it, it matches up from the reverse angle. It makes no sense, but, and it's supposed to be poignant, and to me it came across as unintentional comedy, basically. I get what they are going for, but it didn't work for me. So the next scene, Rios is playing with a soccer ball, and Jurati enters, and she's She's flirting, but it begins with her moping about and saying, how empty she is and how space sucks. And, she kisses him, then rejects him and apologizes. And then says how hopeless she is and lonely and afraid she is. And then they embrace again. Then they go and have sex. Presumably, I guess. On the artifact, creepy Narissa and Narek are talking about Soji's dreams, where Narek concludes that she must have a subconscious, therefore the key to her secret is to examine her dream. And a toy is introduced, a box called the Tan Zakran, a puzzle box. Narek shows his sister how to open it, and it requires patience, something that she lacks. And it opens and a female figure pops out. On the La Serena, on the way to the Borg cube, Rios questions how Picard will get there without authorization. Picard uses a drunk and high Raffi smoking her stupid fucking vape, which shouldn't be in the show at all. And, you don't need this whole thing with her being drunk and high. It could be that her son doesn't want anything to do with her for the conspiracy theory reason. You don't have to throw alcoholism and drug addiction into it. You know what I mean? It's a little too heavy-handed. But anyway, she's high and drunk, and she calls an admiral and manipulates her into giving Picard diplomatic access to the reclamation site. It works, and Picard, he claps inappropriately, I find, and then she stumbles off, loaded, being carried by Rios. And, she's clearly in need of help. She's clearly in need of some intervention, but everybody just kind of leaves her alone. I mean, Rios looks after her, I guess. So back on the cube again. Soji and Narek, walking around talking about her dreams again. And then Narek says, we examine anomalies on this ship, so anything suspicious we look at, we notice that the calls to your mother only last 70 seconds. And this further disillusions Soji. On the La Serena, a scene of a depressed, drunk Raffi is telling Rios about her son. Then he tucks her in. I understand the emotional thing they're trying to do here. I just don't care. I don't care about Soji and Narek, and I don't care about Raffi and her problems. I really don't. I mean, and now I don't care about Girardi. I hate her. I just want her to I want to know what's on the go with her. What's happening with her mind. What terrible apocalyptic vision of the future did she see? Soji then calls her mom and kind of tests out this thing. And she realizes that her mother's not real, but then she ends up falling asleep anyway. Back on the ship, Picard's preparing to beam over to the site, and he's getting PTSD flashbacks, which are just screen grabs from Borg stuff in the past. Elnor wants to go, but Picard refuses, but he's going to show up anyway. He looks at Daj's necklace, and his hand is shaking. So Soji goes through all of her personal belongings and scans them with a cool carbon dating app to find that they're all 37 months old. And I thought she was going to scan herself, but then that wouldn't work because she's meant to fool sensors, I guess. This, of course, is very troubling to her. So we're finally getting the path to activation, which just took too long. For some reason, Picard is beamed to a random part of the ship where Hugh has to walk to meet him. So I think that's there just so he can have a dramatic and traumatic walkthrough where he almost falls to his death, but he's saved by 2 XBs. Hugh yells out, "They don't want you to fall." Hugh and greets Picard with a warm hug, and it's really nice. Probably the best moment in the entire episode. As they walk through the halls, they talk about stuff, and Hugh sees that how uneasy Picard is. Some XBs seem to recognize him, and he averts his gaze. And Hugh reminds him that it's no longer a Borg cube, but it's an artifact. And Picard is no longer Locutus, and he comforts him. And it's very nice. The scene is kind of marred with the fact that the people who make New Trek are completely obsessed with shining lights in the lens. Let's have lights moving, and this show is very insensitive to light sensitive people. And I don't think they realize that it's not everything needs to be shot like a music video. It's like Greedy Fly, that Bush video, Greedy Fly. There's a lot of like that kind of lens flary stuff. That's what it reminds me of, this walk through the Borg hallways, which aesthetically, like the sets look great, and the mutating walls and whatnot, that looks cool, and the sound effects. And of course, this entire series has a damn good score. The music behind it is always pretty much on point. Picard tells Hugh about Soji, and I think Hugh's like, yeah, I know she seems to be in trouble, and this Romulan, he tells him about Narek. And then anyway, back with Narek and Soji again. Narek tells Soji that her memories were implanted, and that she may be holding a secret that she doesn't know, and he suggests a form of Romulan meditation called the Zalmak, and Soji agrees. So anyway, back with Picard and Hugh. A lot of cutting back and forth in this series throughout, which is fine in some instances. Picard and Hugh are observing the Borg recovery area. Picard is fascinated that de-assimilation can be done on such a massive scale, by the Romulans, no doubt. And there's probably like 100,000 of these things, these Borg, that they've been helping for a number of years. Of course, helping them, but probably profiting from the sale of Borg technology, when they don't realize there's a very advanced piece of technology within the ship that they don't know about yet, which could actually change the game. And it's a wonder why the Borg haven't used this to their advantage, but we'll get into that. He comes to the realization that the Borg are not monsters, that they're victims, which he has always known, but conveniently he just forgets for this. Aromatic syndrome, you can chalk every piece of odd behavior from Picard to aromatic syndrome. Hugh points out that the XBs are still hated, and that they're basically enslaved by a new queen who's Romulan. I assume he's referring to Larissa, or maybe Larissa's mother. Although she comes across as like a princess. Larissa's like an entitled little princess, evil princess, who is abusive to her brother. Very Game of Thrones vibes. She has a kind of a Cersei vibe to her. And Narek is like Jaime. Rios wakes up Raffi and gives her some coffee, right, on the ship. And then Raffi, Rios is like, yeah, you lost the bet because the twin's alive. And Raffi's really, interested in why they would keep her alive. Why would the Tal Shiar want Soji alive? They must want something from her. And then, we find out Narek leads Soji into the meditation room to perform the Zalmak. And inside, Narek reveals his name is Crayon, which is, Soji says, what did you say, Crayon? He's like, yes, Crayon, like Crayola crayon. No, I'm joking, but his name is Crayon. So Soji walks around the room while Narek guides her through the memory of her dream. She's not able to see her father's face. She sees herself represented as a disassembled wooden doll like Pinocchio. Narissa is monitoring, by the way, and when Soji reveals that there are 2 blood-red moons and frequent lightning storms where she is in the dream, they decide that's enough information, and Eric tells her that she's not real, kisses her, blah blah blah. He's all sad, leaves her in the room, releases some radiation from a version of the puzzle box we saw earlier, and of course she activates and breaks through the floor and escapes. And in between this is a scene where Picard and Hugh go to Soji's quarters, and Picard's like, I think she's activated, which she is, and Hugh's trying to monitor where she's going. As Hugh and Picard go to meet up with her, some XB is in the hallway. He's like, Locutus? Like, you know, can I get a selfie? No, he doesn't say that, but that was that was supposed to be funny, I guess. But anyway, she meets up with Picard and Hugh, where she reluctantly decides to trust them. And they go to the Queen's cell, where they use an advanced carrion transporter to transport Soji and Picard to a planet called Nepenthe. But before this, Picard tells Raffi to rendezvous with them there. And before they leave, Elnor shows up and dispatches the Romulan guards with his sword. Elnor stays behind to cover their escape, and I know some people are confused about why he stays behind. And they do waste a lot of time debating before they leave, and this is so stupid. But anyway, Picard and Soji leave through the gateway, which has a theoretical range of like 40,000 light years. And Hugh tells Elnor that it'll take a few minutes for everything to shut down and the room to be hidden again, and he asks Elnor if he can hold him off for that long, which Elnor replies that he won't need a few minutes. That's why he stays behind, I guess. Hey, Hugh needs to conceal. Nobody can know about this room, and how only Hugh knows, I don't know. Unless every XB knows where the Queen cell is or something, I don't know. Anyway, he's like, stay behind me. And the guards come, and he says, please, my friends, choose to live. And the big question is, how did Elnor beam over? How did he get through the security, unless he was helped? I don't know. How would he know how to operate? He's like totally ignorant of the outside world. I don't know about that. So I don't know what I think about this episode. It was good and bad. They were a little over the top with the flashiness of in the dream, and when Picard was freaking out, it's a little overcooked. I'd rather they just show a brief scene instead of do these like quick flashes. Like, they're seriously like not sensitive to people who hate flashy images and constant light shining in their face. This like turns a lot of people off. I don't think they realize this. I know it's a nitpick, and some people just don't mind it. They love it or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, it took a while to get here. Episode 6 seems like the logical middle, because I know episodes 1, 2, and 3 were supposed to be just 1 and 2. So this seems like the logical episode 5, or the halfway point. And I think the show is a little too stuffed with storylines I don't care about. And the fact that we're trying so long to get to Maddox, and then he tells Picard what he needs to know, and that's the end of him. Why did she need to kill him? I don't understand. What is him living going to prevent? And what's with these other synths? And where are they? Why is there an army? Why is there a conclave of synths? I don't know what's on the go here. Maybe the Zodvash are right, and Soji is the destroyer, and there are other synths like her for some reason, created by who we don't know. Probably won't ever find out. But maybe the vision, and I'm going to get into predictions about episode 7. If you don't want to know anything about what may happen, just stop listening. But the Nepenthe is where the Rikers are, and Soji's they're gonna run into Kestra, which is Riker and Troy's daughter, I guess. And she's going to have like a bow and arrow, I think. And then he's going to go and meet Riker. She's going to yell, "Dad, Picard's here." And Picard tells Riker about Troy's about the situation and how it's dire and he needs a new plan. And on the other side, the La Sirena is being held by the Borg cube. At first, it manages to break away and escape, but at first they can't. They're being held there. Narissa, Hugh and what's his name? Elnor are gonna fight off some more guards, and then Narissa's gonna come and she's gonna probably kill Elnor. I think Elnor's gonna die in the next episode, and then I don't know if Hugh's gonna die. I really don't want. She has a knife up to his neck in the preview, so she's like, "You let Picard and the synth escape." So she might kill him. I don't want him to die though. It'd be pretty grim to have Elnor and Narissa die. But there might be some kind of Deus Ex Machina that saves their asses. But I think Narek escapes the cube to go after Soji. I think they may get Hugh to talk. They may start killing XBs in front of him. And Hugh's just like, okay, Nepenthe. And then, boom, Narek's gone. He's gone to Nepenthe to chase after Soji to maybe destroy her. I don't know. But all the while at the Rikers, he's convincing Soji to trust him. Not sure what's going to happen next. But there is a scene of a close-up of Jurati's eyes and what appears to be a planetary apocalyptic explosion on Earth. Could be another planet, but it looks like Earth. So she was shown Earth being destroyed by possibly synths. And it's like, okay, evil AI, evil androids, evil bad guys, mustache twirling bad guys, and dragged out storylines and characterization that doesn't seem to match up. Shows a challenge, but it's easier to watch it if you just kind of switch off your knowledge of everything before it. And I know nostalgia and Easter eggs and little name drops and references are always fun, but it doesn't do much when the story is so slow. And hopefully now we're getting deep into the second half of the season, it really starts amping up. Thanks for listening.